Hey guys, Silverpot Reads here, and I am on a roll. I should have just recorded this all in one part, since I'm recording part 2 of chapter 10 almost right away, but that also is because all my friends abandoned me this weekend, but that's another story for another day, which is not going to come. Anyways, let's get started on Spike, chapter 10, part 2. Last time we left off, Saunders was going out on a date. So, what was that so-called surprise you had for me, Tare? Saunders asked as they entered the bar. You haven't told him? Gregory said to Terrence. Of course not, Terrence said to his boyfriend, Greg. Then he turned to Saunders and said, I think you're going to like it. The surprise isn't it. It's an object? Saunders guessed. Terrence chuckled. You sound like a kid, Saunders. Come on, let's find a table. They ordered each their drink before they finally found a nice table to settle down by. It was a table for 4. There had been a few tables with 3 seats available, but Terrence insisted they get one with 4 seats. This made Saunders positive that Terrence's surprise was not an object, but a person. Terrence, I hope you're not setting me up with some guy, Saunders said and pretended to be glaring at Terrence. Relax, man. I said you're going to like my little surprise, Terrence said and nudged Saunders with his elbow. Then suddenly Gregory gave Terrence a nudge. Speak of the devil, he stated. Is that her? Gregory nodded in the direction he meant, and Terrence smiled. Oh yeah, that's Yinny, all right. Terrence smiled. He looked at Saunders and was about to tell him his surprise was headed his way, but Saunders had already noticed her. She was a true eye-catch. All the other men in the pub gave Saunders the most envious look he'd ever received when they noticed she was catwalking her way straight towards him. Saunders had to concentrate not to mope when he saw her. She looked like she'd been pulled straight out of a magazine, with long, slim legs, hourglass-shaped body, and a rather large breast which swung in time with her body behind her low-cut, wine-red dress. She smiled seductively at Saunders when she saw him, and Saunders was quite shocked to realize how easily seduced he was by her. Terrence and Gregory stood up from their seats and welcomed her with hugs. She smiled kindly at them and chattered a little with them before Terrence introduced her to Saunders. Yenny, this is my best buddy Saunders. Saunders stood up a little faster than he intended due to his nervousness and clumsily bumped his chair so it almost fell to the floor. Hi. He smiled and felt like he was blushing, then he remembered to reach out his hand and greet her. I'm Yenny, she smiled when Saunders forgot to introduce himself. Pleased to meet you, Yenny, Saunders said and carefully shook her hand. I'm Saunders. She giggled softly. Don't you have a first name, Saunders? Oh, yeah, of course, sorry, Saunders stammered. It's Peter. So your name's Peter Saunders, then? Yenny asked. Well, not his whole name, it isn't, Terrence interrupted. Come on, Peter, tell her your full name. Saunders sent him a look telling him to shut up, but obviously Yenny seemed interested in his name. Tell me, she insisted and kept smiling, looking deep into his eyes. For a second, Saunders forgot about everything and was just dazed by her azure eyes. Terrence noticed and nudged him to make him snap out of it. Tell her then, Saunders, he grinned. Saunders carefully sent him a hateful look, but then he sighed and told her his full name. It's Peter Nevin K. Imheen Saunders. Terrence had to cover his own mouth in order to keep himself from giggling. He knew Saunders didn't like telling his name, mostly because people laughed at him if he did. Yenny didn't laugh, though. She tried to repeat his name, but quickly gave up, and Saunders had to repeat it. It's an Irish name, Saunders said. Oh, so you're Irish? Yenny said suddenly, and if possible, even more interested in Saunders. Well, yeah, I've been living here for some time now, Saunders said. He'd been slightly mocked or stereotyped now and then for being Irish and hoped Yenny wouldn't do the same. Now that you mention it, Yenny said eagerly, I did kind of hear it when you spoke. You do have a bit of an accent. That's actually pretty hot. Saunders' eyes widened. You think so? She giggled, well, yeah. So what do you want me to call you? Kay? What was that third name again? Saunders repeated his name with a careful smile. Just call him Kevin, Terrence suddenly said. It sounds just about the same. We used to call him Kevin in high school, although his most common nickname is Saunders, but Peter works fine as well. I see, Yenny nodded, and then she giggled again. Isn't it strange having that long a name? She asked Saunders. Well, what can I say? My mother was an irresolute woman. Saunders nervously chuckled. Yenny smiled and gave Saunders that seductive look again. You're cute, she said softly. Saunders swallowed and felt like he was starting to blush again. So, man with a ridiculously long name, Terrence said to Saunders, aren't you going to ask the lady to sit down? Huh? Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. Here. Saunders quickly got out of the chair and asked her to sit on. He watched how she gracefully sat down on the seat with crossed legs, then he finally sat down too. Terrence noticed that Yenny was completely absorbed in Saunders and that Saunders just couldn't take his eyes off Yenny. He whispered to Gregory that he thought it was about time to let them have some alone time, and so they went to sit by another table where they spotted some of Gregory's friends. Poor Saunders, Terrence chuckled as they were walking to find another table. He's always nervous around ladies. He's so cute, though, Gregory smiled. Hey, you're with me, remember? Gregory laughed and put his arm around Terrence's waist. God, I could never have said that straight to his face. He would have killed himself. Poor thing, he tries so hard not to seem gay that one would think he's hiding something. Terrence looked at Gregory. What are you assuming? Gregory laughed again. I was just kidding. I know he's not gay. Terrence looked over his shoulder at Yenny and Saunders still sitting by the table, talking. Saunders oozed of nervousness, while Yenny couldn't seem to take her eyes off him. You think I was wrong in introducing Yenny to him, Greg? Terrence asked. What? No, just look at them. They're clearly absorbed by one another. Well, yeah, but you know how Yenny is, Terrence said in doubt. I'm afraid she'll just use him. I didn't really think Saunders would fall for her. I just wanted to tease him a little. Isn't it a good thing, though? Gregory smiled softly, looking at the two turtle doves. What is? Terrence wondered. That he likes her. I mean, he's been depressed about his wife for 10 years straight, and this is the first girl he's shown interest in ever since. Maybe he's finally letting go. Isn't that a good thing? Terrence thought about it. Yeah, it kinda is. I'm still not sure I did the right thing. Gregory, that is the hardest name ever, looked questioning at him. Terrence glanced up through his dreads at his tall boyfriend. As I said, I'm afraid she's just using him, like with all the others. I don't want him to get hurt again. They'd been sitting there for almost an hour, Yenny and Saunders, the latter getting quite in the mood after all the wine she talked him into drinking. She laughed and smiled and had a great time together with him, but felt now was the time to take him back to her place for what she hoped would be the night's big event. She tossed her long brown hair over behind her back, and before she leaned over the table in silence his talking with a soft kiss on the lips. Saunders stared surprised at her, blushing heavily, which luckily wasn't noticeable in the gloom of the pub. She smiled and looked at him with bedroom eyes, leaning forward and whispers in his ear, "Let's find some place quieter." They walked down the streets away from the pub. Yenny had Saunders' jacket around her shoulders, did not catwalk anymore as the wine would only cause her to lose balance and fall. Saunders wasn't usually the kind of guy to let himself get drunk. He'd never go and get wasted. He could tip a few if he was out bar hopping with Terrence and Greg one night, but he always made sure he was completely sober before he set off home. However, wine, which he actually didn't even like, often had a much greater effect on him than what he usually drank, so things got slightly out of hand this evening since Yenny had got him to drink almost a whole bottle. He wasn't yet drunk, he just had enough to make him loose footing once in a while. Yenny thought it was charming how he sometimes got off balance like that and fell towards her, immediately excusing himself times over and over again and then laughing at how stupid he probably looked. They wobbled together down the streets for a while, then Yenny stopped outside a hotel. Saunders looked up at the sign. Blue Moon Hotel, 4 stars. Yenny must be rich to live here, he thought. But soon he thought of the possibility that she might want him to pay for a room, which made him exhale a little sigh, knowing he wouldn't have the money to pay for such a room, and would either have to say goodbye to her, or find some other romantic and cheap solution for them. I've got a room here, Yenny suddenly said to Saunders' great relief and admiration. Come. She smiled and took his arm, leading him through to the hotel's glass entrance. Saunders just gaped at the sight of the amazing inventory inside the hotel, immediately feeling he could never belong in such a place. When he looked around, however, these rich men sitting there with their expensive suits, drinking the finest coffee and reading their newspapers, all of them were staring at him, all with great envy in their eyes for seeing a scruffy someone like him walk in with a fine woman like that. His confidence boosted a little when he saw that even important men like that would envy him, so he straightened up his back and walked even more appropriately. He even dared allowing himself to lay an arm carefully around Yenny's waist. Yenny seemed to quite like that and slid her own hand down to Saunders' butt. Then she did a toss with her head and glanced over her shoulder at all those other men, as if she was just demonstrating how she could have anyone she wanted, demonstrating the power of her beauty. Yet she did like him, as strange as it appeared to her. Yenny felt attracted to Saunders. If only he had worn expensive tux and gotten his hair fixed, she was convinced he could have been a rather smashing young fellow, much unlike the way he looked now. Not at all something her friends would approve of, but she liked it. He looked so rebellish, exciting, still incredibly gentle, and so easy to manipulate. They finally reached the reception. Yenny stepped forward and asked for her key. "And you, sir?" the young man behind the counter asked Saunders after handing Yenny her key. Saunders stuttered, but Yenny came to his rescue. "He's with me." She smiled and placed her hand on his chest and kissed him on the cheek. "Very well," the young man said. "Enjoy your stay, sir." There it was again, that envious look, and the night was only getting better. Sam held tight around the pillow he had on his lap, trying not to look too frightened. Spike sat beside him on the couch with this eerie, almost gloating grin on his face, which was kind of disturbing to Sam considering what kind of movie they were watching, Friday the 13th. Sam shuddered at an unpleasant scene and held the pillow even tighter. He didn't like this sort of film, but he wouldn't admit that to his best friend. Then a sudden sound made Sam almost jump out of the couch before he realized it was just the phone. Sam stuttered to Spike and walked towards the kitchen where the phone stood. Want me to pause the film? Spike asked. No, it's fine, Sam said, hoping he wouldn't have to watch the rest of it. He picked up the receiver and carefully said, hello? He exhaled the breath he'd been holding, relieved to hear a familiar voice on the other end. Hey, Dad, he said. You sound kind of strange, Sam. Is there anything wrong? Saunders asked. Oh, it's nothing, Sam assured him. We were just watching this creepy movie Spike brought. I see, and you're not too thrilled about that, I hear, Saunders chuckled. I'll be fine, Sam said. So why are you calling? Where are you? How did the date go? It went fine. I'm at a hotel right now. I might be a bit late, so I just wanted to tell you not to wait up for me. I'll take the bus home sometime tomorrow morning, alright? Oh, okay, Sam said. Then he heard some giggling in the background. Is anyone there? Sam asked. Look, Sam, I gotta go now, but don't wait up, okay? Good night, son. Love ya. Then he hung up the phone. Sam slowly put down the receiver and stared blankly at the phone some seconds before he finally went back to the living room. Who was it? Asked Spike when Sam returned to the darkened living room. Dad, Sam replied and sat down on the couch. So how'd his date go? Spike asked, curious. He's getting laid, Sam said casual. Oh, Spike said, and he didn't ask any more questions. They sat in silence while watching the rest of the movie. Sam kept looking away at the goriest parts, and said he secretly looked at Sam. Sam looked closely at him, since he was so absorbed in the movie anyways to even know what Sam was doing. Sam eyed him up and down. There was something about him that made it difficult for Sam to take his eyes off him. Spike's face looked so soft to touch, and then he came to wonder, why didn't Spike let him touch him? He knew very well that Spike hated being touched, but still, they were friends. Spike trusted Sam, didn't he? Or maybe he didn't. That last thought made Sam feel a little down. Maybe Spike didn't like him at all. Maybe he found him to be repulsive and therefore did not want any physical contact with him. Sam looked at Spike's hand resting in his own lap. He wanted to find out what Spike really thought about him. Wanted to find out if Spike would trust him enough to let him touch him. Sam reached out at his hand and laid it on top of Spike's hand and waited. He didn't have to wait long. Spike withdrew his hand the instant he felt Sam's hand on top of his. He looked surprised at Sam. What was that for? Sam turned around on the couch and he sat face to face with Spike. Why won't you touch me? He asked in a saddened tone. You know why. I don't like being touched, Sam finished. My question was, why won't you touch me? Spike didn't know what to say, and he didn't know why he didn't touch Sam. There was just this barrier inside him that he wouldn't let him touch anyone. He didn't know how else to explain it. Do you want me to touch you? Sam flushed at the question and looked down so Spike wouldn't notice. Well, I wouldn't mind a little physical contact every once in a while, just to know you don't hate me. You think I hate you? Well, there's gotta be some reason you won't even lay your finger on me. It's just that sometimes I feel like you think I'm disgusting or something. You treat me like I'm contagious. Spike suddenly felt a strong guilt washing over him. It's not like that, he said, honest. Sam then reached out both of his hands towards Spike. Do you trust me? Yeah, Spike said. Then prove it, Sam dared him. Take my hands. Spike looked at Sam. His smile had faded, and he looked somewhat begging into Spike's eyes. He looked down at Sam's hands again. It bothered him. Why couldn't he touch Sam? Why did it feel so awkward to even consider holding his hand? He frowned. It was stupid of him to think like that. Of course he could touch Sam. He trusted him. He knew Sam would never do a thing to hurt him. And it wasn't true what Sam was thinking. He didn't think Sam was disgusting. But on second thoughts, he had actually been treating Sam like he was contagious. However, he never meant it. Obviously, Sam was feeling hurt by this, and the least thing Spike could do would be to make it up for him, and take his hands. Sam smiled warm as Spike slowly and carefully laid his palm on top of Sam's. See, that wasn't so bad, was it? Spike shook his head, smiling at Sam. They sat like that for a while, looking at each other, holding hands. Then Spike asked, what now? Should we let go? God, this is so cute. Well, you don't have to, Sam said, suggesting they could just sit and hold hands a little while longer watching the rest of the movie. Spike shrugged. I don't mind. Oh my god, this is too cute. He actually liked sitting like that. It felt nice, something which had surprised him. He could hold Sam's hand without feeling uncomfortable or threatened. On the contrary, it felt safe. Sam felt his face grow warm and turned towards the movie to hide how he was blushing. He felt the warmth from Spike's hand in his and got an odd tingly feeling in his stomach from being this close to him. Sam smiled, hoping they could sit like this forever. The end credits rolled on the TV screen. The movie is over. Well, Spike begun, I'd best be going home now. Aw, already? Sam held his hand a little tighter. Can't you stay? Stay? You mean spend the night? Sam nodded. Spike sighed. I'd love to, but you're forgetting one important thing. What? Charles. Sam pouted. That damn Chuck never lets you have any fun. He'll be furious if I'm late. I better go now. Well, can't you call him? Sam suggested hopefully. You can use our phone. Come on, ask him if he'll let you spend the night. Just this once. It'd be so awesome. Sam, you're hurting my hand, Spike said. Oh, sorry. Sam softened the grip. But can't you call him? Spike sighed. Okay, he agreed, but I can't promise he'll let me stay. I mean, why should he? Come on. Sam stood up from the couch, still holding Spike's hand, and dragged him to the kitchen where the phone was. Call him. Sam said, almost jumping up and down in excitement where he stood. Spike picked up the phone. He looked at Sam, who was staring over his shoulder. Do you mind? Not at all. Sam, could I get some privacy, please? Oh, yeah, sure. There's another phone in my dad's room you can use. I'll wait in the living room. Sorry about that. Sam reluctantly let go of Spike's hand and let him walk away. Spike opened the door to Saunders' room and went inside. He started walking around nervously, looking down his shaking hands. Then he went over to the phone, dialed the number, and put the receiver to his ear. It took a long while before Chuck answered it. Hello? A grumpy voice asked. Hello, Charles, sir? Spike swallowed anxiously. Spike, where the hell are you calling from? It's late. You should have been home by now. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, Spike said. I'm calling from a friend's house, and... A friend? You don't have any friends. Spike had never told his uncle about Sam, not wanting Sam to get in trouble as well. I have one friend, Spike carefully murmured. It's not that girl, is it? Chuck said in a dark tone. No, it's a boy. Do you like him? Well, as a friend, yeah. Chuck started. You better not be seeing another guy's kid. God help you if you do. I'm not seeing anyone. We're just friends. I was just wondering if I could stay here just for tonight. Chuck got silent. Spike crossed his fingers. Just for tonight? Just for tonight, sir. He got silent again, and then he told Spike he was going out that night anyway and wouldn't be home until morning. So I guess you can stay, Chuck concluded. Spike's jaw dropped and his mouth formed a wide smile. You mean it? Oh, thank you so much, sir. But you'll be home right after school tomorrow, you got that? Yes, sir, Spike smiled. Chuck hung up on him without saying any more. Spike looked at the phone, couldn't believe his luck. He exclaimed a low, triumphant, yes! Before he walked out of the room. In the doorway, he was met by a familiar face. Sam? Weren't you supposed to wait out in the living room? I know, I'm sorry, Sam apologized. So what did he say? Spike failed to hold back a smile. Are you kidding me? Sam said, smiling too. He let you stay? Sam exclaimed a loud yes and happily embraced Spike. It took a while for him to realize just what he was doing, and he finally let Spike go, apologizing himself. It's okay, Spike said, and he dared laying a hand on Sam's shoulder. Sam smiled and took Spike's hand again, innocently holding it as they walked back to the living room, deciding to watch the second movie, Aliens.